Coming up in this edition of 15 News, a local writer discusses African American contributions to the Union winning the Civil War.
We're talking about comic books, graphic novels, superhero films, and how you can find all of these at your local library coming up.
In 1862, President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation opened the door for African Americans to enlist in the Union Army. Although many served in the infantry and artillery, discriminatory practices resulted in large numbers of African American soldiers being assigned to perform non-combat support duties as cooks, laborers, and teamsters. Still others were prevented from joining the Army at all. Despite those obstacles, many African Americans contributed significantly to the Union winning the Civil War. The church at Burke Park recently hosted author and Civil War researcher Alfred Talley, who discussed African American contributions to the Civil War and why many of those heroes were ordinary people fighting under extraordinary circumstances.
Some historians say that the Union might not have won the war without black support. Now, I'm not saying that, but I know for sure from my research they certainly helped the Union win the war. And something that I never learned in school, by the way. And that's why I'm pretty much interested in it now. There were quite a few black soldiers and sailors that won the Congressional Medal of Honor during the Civil War, which I didn't know until I researched it. And some of those people, most of those people, by the way, were slaves at one time. I think of all the people I've talked about tonight, only 2 were never slaves. And everybody else had been slaves at one time in their lives. I'm also going to talk about my background and my genealogy as far as my parents and my great-grandparents were concerned, because my great-grandmother was a slave. And that's something that I think is very significant.
Presented by the Southfield Historical Society, the discussion focused on the Gettysburg Battle and spotlighted the courageous efforts of African Americans and the impact of their actions.
I did not learn in the Detroit public schools most of the information that I have mentioned this evening. Their history books during my time as a student, and especially the years when I attended elementary and intermediate school, did not have any mention of blacks fighting in the Civil War, much less that of black spies who worked for the Union, and with the exception of Harriet Tubman, very little, if any, was there any mention of black abolitionists.
To learn more about upcoming Southfield Historical Society events, call area code 248-569-9279. Holy Fandemonium. Comic conventions have become a pop culture phenomenon, uniting fans of superheroes, comic books, and science fiction TV shows and movies under one roof for an endless array of celebrities, costumes, and serious fun. This year's Motor City Comic Con certainly fit the bill, and 15 News' entertainment reporter Jim Hall was in the middle of all the action.
Motor City Comic Con 2016. And let me tell you, this is my kind of place. It's a place where you can come and let your freak flag fly. And baby, there's a lot of people doing it today. This is such a fun event, and anybody who loves pop culture, comic books, movies, books, science fiction, fantasy, horror, it's all here. It's an amazing 3-day weekend, and I'm going to try to show you a little bit of it. Let's take a look.
A lot of us artists spend time in our studios. Mine happens to be in a basement, so I feel very trapped and very isolated when I'm working and very alone. It's an isolating process. So to get out, not out just out into the real world, but out into the real world where there are fans that are coming to tell you why what you do is important to them, it's just so satisfying and helps you remember. It recharges the batteries so that you can go back and do more work.
And this is particularly exciting for me. I grew up in Ann Arbor, spent time in Jackson, U of M graduate, and to me this is my hometown con. Now, I've not been to a Motor City Comic Con in 20 years, so to come back, back then I was some snot-nosed kid, a fan. Now I'm back here as a guest.
Snot-nosed guest, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was snot-nosed guest, but it's always it's always fun to come home.
It's where you can go. You can be yourself and meet like-minded people, or just people who want to come in and like rub shoulders with huge media guests like me and Ming Chen. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, and when I was growing up as a kid back in the day, I knew like 3 people who read comics and were into pop culture. Me and Mike just get made fun of for reading comics. Now, we're gathered with 50,000 plus people who love books. Like this is what I dreamed about growing up, and now now I have it. Now anybody can go to a con like this and hang out with people who are like-minded and who love the same things they do. It's great to have that.
It's neat, especially since Mouse Guard started at this show. I launched the first issue as a self-published one back in 2005, so to be back where it all started, like this is where Mouse Guard was hatched. Mouse Guard's a medieval fantasy comic about mice with swords that protect the common mouse against predators and weather conditions, because when you're a mouse, the world is very, very big, and a rainstorm, like that's huge flooding. That's you can't get from one town to another anymore without boats or leaf boats or going way around the bend on high ground. So there's this intrepid group called the Mouse Guard that are mice that wear cloaks and have weapons and go out, and they're not really soldiers. They're not knights. They're not mercenaries. They're more like pathfinders. They watch the weather conditions. They map via the stars. They do have the weapons so that when they encounter a predator, they can hold their own or try to. But they're really just there doing the good work that needs to be done in order for the rest of mouse civilization to not just survive, but thrive.
Well, I think if you were going to sum up Motor City Comic Con, it's just a place to let your love of comic books, pop culture, and all things geek, it's a place to come celebrate all that. This was just an absolutely amazing 3-day event. I recommend you plan to come for 2017. I guess that's going to wrap it up for me, and I'll look forward to talking to you.
Excuse me, sir. It's time for you to leave.
It looks like we've overstayed our welcome at the 2016 Comic-Con, but we always have a place to explore the worlds of comics at our Southfield Library. With tons of books and media to choose from, the Southfield Public Library offers an excellent selection of material for any comic geek. Let's check it out.
Okay, well, this is just a small snippet of our graphic novel and comic book collection. I pulled a couple titles that have some really high pop culture appeal. So there's Daredevil, which has a Netflix TV show, iZombie, we have that. So this is exciting because we're actually doing an Alice in Wonderland program later this summer called Book to Art. But you can see that this is Batman through the looking glass, and he engages with Alice, or at least this version of Alice, which is different, which is just exciting with the big anniversary and everything coming up. So.
For kids who want to learn more about a superhero's past, or their let's say their villains or their history, we have several books like this. This happens to be the Fantastic Four. I know we've got Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, all the Avengers, things like that. And then also these are in the nonfiction area. We have this, like the big book of superheroes. What are some of the things? We have books on what is the physics behind a superhero. I remember when I was a little guy, I used some word, big word in context, and my father just looked at me and goes, "Where did you learn that?" I said, "Fantastic Four," and he said, "Seriously? Show me." So I showed him, and he goes, "Okay, you can read more comic books." Ta-da! Look at me now. That's the way it works, folks. You just get people reading, and you let them go.
So anyone who's a resident of Southfield or Lathrop Village can just bring in their driver's license or picture ID and get a library card. If you work in Southfield or you attend school in Southfield, you can also get a card. And then we also have reciprocal borrowing with a lot of local libraries. So if you have an Oak Park card, you can use that here. You just need to register it at the front desk.
You know what? I think I'm going to stay here for a little bit, and I'll see you soon on another adventure. The spirit of volunteerism is more than a notion in Southfield, and the summer season provides many opportunities to become involved and make a difference in the community. If you're good at working with your hands, you can link up with Rebuilding Together Oakland County and help elderly homeowners make minor and major repairs to their homes.
If they're ill, if they're elderly, if they're handicapped, if they need help, there's people out there to help them do it. Rebuilding Together, right here. This is the group that does it in Oakland County. Every year we do this. Throughout the year we do small projects. It's the best group in the world.
We've been here about 23 years. We always had this little house. Financially, we had some big difficulties. My husband needed a ramp real bad. So they came out and built that ramp, very professional. Everything was done very well. And then they sent us an application if we wanted other things done. They were expecting a big grant. So we put in to get the outside of the house painted. It's very nice, very polite, called us, helped us, nothing negative.
To just know that we're doing our little piece as part of the overall effort around the country. We do, our little piece here in Oakland County. 600-700 volunteers come out on a day like today. The energy, the positive atmosphere, people giving back, knowing that they're blessed and they're giving back to people that are less fortunate.
We are so grateful because the house was starting to rot. And if we did not take care of this situation, we would have really been at a loss. It would have, things would have gotten worse and we really would be in a bad shape.
HealthRise Cares is another outreach program that incorporates the efforts of volunteers.
To clean along that fence, all the leaves and everything need to be raked away from the wall and able to be gathered into one of the wheelbarrows. Yeah. And then any visible weeding.
Today we have a Southfield-based company, HealthRise Solutions, with their CEO, David Farbman, out here helping to fix up one of our Southfield parks, the Freeway Park, over the 696 deck. It's great when companies want to come out and be good corporate citizens and volunteer their time to help with Southfield Parks and Rec.
Well, I think that HealthRise Cares is something that we started early on with HealthRise. A big thing in what we have done with our business is to try to make it a more holy thing, make it more involved in community, and that really has been since the start. And I find this extra cool because it's right here in Southfield, a city we love, and of course where our headquarters is. And I am especially excited because a bunch of my friends from the yeshiva and different people will be running back and forth at Shabbat tonight, moving up and down these trails, and we can say that we had a part in that. I think that's really cool. So at HealthRise, we really have this culture that is very service-oriented, and making the things better or making the things rise that we touch is something that's huge to us as a business. So they love it, and they really own these kinds of days, and it's great that we're able to do it and use the time of our people to be able to do it, because there's nothing more important than what we're doing for the community and those around us.
Volunteering is a part of the cultural fabric in Southfield, and there are numerous ways to volunteer over the summer season. To obtain more details about volunteer opportunities with Rebuilding Together Oakland County and HealthRise Cares, visit rebuildingtogether-oaklandcounty.org and healthrise.com/healthrise-cares, respectively, for more information. A new art installation is sure to capture the attention of area motorists. The Gratitude sculpture recently found a new home at the Evergreen Road South Roundabout. The 16-foot-high work was donated by resident Skip Davis, noted abstract artist who prior to installation completely restored and repainted the sculpture. City officials hope the work strengthens Southfield's standing as an arts-friendly community and a place for public arts placement. Funding for the refurbishment and relocation was provided by the City Center Advisory Board and the Barbara J. Davis Memorial Art Fund. To learn more about the city's artistic endeavors, call the mayor's office at area code 248-796-5100. The next family fitness activity coming up in Southfield is the popular Summer Solstice 5K, 10K, and Family Fun Walk. This race is an excellent opportunity to get some much-needed sunshine and fitness while helping out the community. If you haven't started training for them yet, There are local organizations such as Good Form Running and Run Detroit that have the perfect training regimen to fit everyone's needs. If you like walking or running in an urban environment where you can enjoy the sight of historical buildings, Run Detroit may be the right choice for you. Their runs take place at Detroit's Eastern Market 2 to 3 times a week. Their main goal is to get people off the couch and get moving while aiming to finish a 5K race during the spring or summer.
Run Detroit is a run specialty shop. So we are a retail store that has anything and everything you could possibly need for running, and many things you didn't even know that you needed. And then with that, we also have a lot of programming that goes into it. So we have a very active Saturday running group, and then twice a year we do a Beginners 101 program just to help introduce people to the sport. We heard a lot of people saying, oh, I don't run, let me get in shape first and then I would come to a group run. So what we wanted to do is take all of the excuses or barriers that we hear and find a solution for them. So we've created a program that is very open and welcoming and encouraging, and it's beginners specific. So you don't have marathoners running circles around you. It's really just beginners working with beginners to help you get to the finish line of your very first 5K. Effort is going to be very individual. Some of us are going to excel just a little bit faster than others, so we really try to tiptoe around having some sort of goal or expectation for the individual. Everybody's going to come with their own goal, and that's what we want to do, is help you reach that. On graduation day, some people are going to run for 35 minutes and they're going to cross the finish line running the whole time. Some folks are going to do a walk jog, and we might do 5 minutes of jogging and 2 minutes of walking. And somebody else might be doing 7 and 2. So the individual results are going to vary, but the expectation is to get you across the finish line with a smile on your face and feeling like you accomplished something. Just get out there. Go around the block once. That's all you got to do. Lace up any shoe that you have in the closet, make it a block around, 1 lap around the block. And then if you can do that with a partner, now you've got somebody to help share in the highs and the lows, and you've got accountability. You know that so-and-so is going to be there. It doesn't matter what the weather is. It could be windy and cold like today, and your partner's waiting for you.
If you're looking for something a little more challenging but need help correcting your stride, Good Form running events take place all over the Metro Detroit area. Recently, at an event GFM held at Fast Training located in Troy, Michigan, they focused on how to perfect posture, stance, and leg and arm movements to prevent injuries while running or walking.
So Good Form Running is basically a simplified running mechanics course, and we do it for free at all 3 of our area locations at New Balance Utica, New Balance Troy, and Farmington Hills. The object is to simplify how to run with good technique using basically 3 simple points that we teach, and to keep that work list more direct, more simple to follow so that you can have success quickly. I think in a lot of running programs, what people focus on first is how much do I need to walk or run, so the duration or the distance. Something that we find is just not often talked about enough is, am I performing those movements correctly? And although we can all walk and run, at least we assume that, sometimes the way that we move is leading to injuries or setbacks, again, diminished performance. So what Good Form Running looks at is how to fix those things so that you're more successful, avoiding injury, being more efficient with your movement, and ultimately just enjoying it more. Clinic that we're doing today with the folks at FAST, Functional Athletic Sequence Training, is really taking what happens with Good Form Running to the next level, with specifically looking at exercise that's going to help complement your performance. And that might be, again, dealing with an old injury. You're like, gosh, I'm not sure if I can do this because I've had a lot of knee history. So what specifically can we learn about that through proper assessment and then the exercise that prepares the body for success?
If you prefer to train on your own, Southfield has wonderful parks, nature trails, and walkways for your enjoyment. But remember, consult your doctor before you start any physical activity or training program. For information about Good Form Running, visit goodformrunning.com. To learn more about Run Detroit, visit run-detroit.com. And to learn more about the Summer Solstice Race, visit southfieldsummersolstice.com. Dealing with cancer and going through treatment is already a difficult process. But some patients are dealing with an extra problem, getting to appointments to receive potentially life-saving treatment. But through the American Cancer Society's Road to Recovery program, kind-hearted volunteers are hitting the road to provide free rides to cancer patients who need help getting to and from cancer treatment centers.
The Road to Recovery program is an American Cancer Society free transportation program for cancer patients during their treatments. It is really run by volunteer drivers who drive the patients to and from their life-saving treatments. And people call us for a number of reasons. A lot of times patients have one vehicle and their spouse or someone living in the household has to take that to work, and they call us because they need a ride to treatment. Sometimes they live alone and they simply can't drive themselves because they're feeling too ill. So we match them up with a volunteer driver, and the volunteer driver picks them up at home, takes them to their treatment, and then takes them home when they're finished. We will transport patients to any appointment that is related to their cancer diagnosis. So even if it's a follow-up appointment a year later, if it's related to their cancer diagnosis, then we're happy to transport them. We are looking for new drivers because while Road to Recovery is doing wonderful work, we provided over 2,300 rides in Metro Detroit last year. We were only able to fulfill about 50% of the rides that were requested to us. Specifically in Wayne County, we were only able to fulfill 37% of the patient rides, and we want to be able to fulfill 100% of those rides, but we can't do that without volunteer drivers. So we're really looking for new drivers that are able to help us, whether it's one day a week or one day a month. It's any ride is a life-saving ride.
While the rides fill a vital need for cancer patients, it also offers another invaluable component to their treatment: friendship and moral support.
It's been kind of a fantastic experience. I've met a lot of nice people. When I first started the program, I was kind of wondering, what are you going to talk about? You're cooped up in a car. And when the people get into the car, it's like I'm a new face, I'm new ears, and there's no problem with conversation. Sometimes I've heard more than I wanted to know. But I've met some real nice people, a couple I still keep in contact with, and it's been a great experience.
It's very important for people to have reliable transportation because, of course, their appointments are at certain times and the doctors choose these times according to what kind of cancer they have and what they need. So to have someone that you can count on is really, a great thing. But it's just nice to know that next Friday I've got a ride, I can relax, I can do whatever I have to do in order to be ready for it. And I'm going to be with this understanding, dedicated person who appreciates what I'm going through and, is giving of their time to help me. So that's really one of the great things about the program.
To learn more about the Road to Recovery program or to find out how you can volunteer as a driver, visit cancer.org. That brings us to the end of the 15 News Weekly Edition. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by searching for Southfield Multimedia Services. Thank you for watching, and see you next week.